Hi there, welcome back to the fourth part of this tutorial. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the Bend Deformer, how the Bend Deformer works. So, for the Bend Deformer to deform or to bend your object properly, you have to make sure that your object has some segments. In this scene I have two cubes, the blue and the red cube, and as you can see the blue cube has some segments, but the red cube has no segments at all. And now I'm going to apply the Bend Deformer in both cubes, and I'm going to start with the blue one. So I'm going to select the blue cube, and by holding shift I'm going to add the Bend Deformer, so that the Bend Deformer will be as a child of the blue cube, so that now this Bend Deformer will bend that cube. I'm going to do the same thing with the red one, so I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to add the Bend Deformer. Okay, now I'm going to hold control to select both Bend Deformers, and as I start to increase the strength, you can see that the blue cube is bending properly and the red cube is not doing the same thing. And the reason is because the red cube has no segments. So now if I select these faces from the red cube, as I start to increase the segments, you can see that the Bend Deformer will bend that cube properly. So this is one thing that you should keep in mind every time you use the Bend Deformer. Okay, now I'm going to delete the red cube, and I'm going to delete also this Bend Deformer. Also I'm going to zero out this blue cube. And now I want to talk a little bit about the technique that we are going to use for our animation. So as you can see, this animation was made 90% using the Bend Deformers. And you might think that the Bend Deformer is it's not too exciting. Actually, that's true. The Bend Deformer was there for a long time. It's nothing new. But we are not going to stop only with the Bend Deformers. We're going to combine techniques so our scene will look more complex, like this scene here. So let me show you what I mean with that. So as you can see, this cube have 6 faces. Actually these are planes, so I made this cube using planes. And for each faces I have applied the Bend Deformer. So now I'm going to select all of them, and on the frame 0 I'm going to increase the strength up to 360 degree, and then I'm going to hold control, so when I click this dot here I add a keyframe. And now I'm going to move the time indicator for 15 frames, and I'm going to bring the strength down to 0, and again I'm going to hold control and click this guy to add another keyframe. So now we're going to have something like this. So now I'm going to delay the second phase for 10 frames, and then the third one for next 10 frames, which means that it's going to start from 20. And then as you can see I have 3 fours, so it says for A, for B, and for C. And the reason is because after this guy unfold, these 3 guys should come at the same time. So now I'm going to select these 3 Bend Deformers, and I'm going to delay them for next 10 frames. So as you can see, we're going to have something like this. Okay, so this is not looking complex, or it's not looking very good. It's just an animation made with the Bend Deformers. But if I make now the second phase as a child of the first one, and the third one as a child of the second one, and then the fourth ones as a child of the third one, see what happened. So we're going to have completely different result, and in this scene it's kind of hard to tell if we were using Bend Deformer or something else. So this scene is looking much better. Also, you can combine this animation with a mograph module, and in this case I'm going to apply the delay effector by holding shift again, and I'm going to go to the deformer, and I'm going to switch on the deformation by choosing point and then after that I'm gonna go to the effector and change the mode from blend to spring. So now, as you can see, we're gonna have this kind of secondary animation, this kind of bouncy effect, which looks pretty cool, I guess. Okay, so this is the technique that we are going to use for our animation. Okay, so now we are at the last scene, and now we will start to apply the same technique on this paper bus. But first, let's delete the old bus, and let's rename the new bus to paper bus. Cool. Now we will go to the back side and unfold the group and click just once this first dot here on the first object, so that that dot will turn to green. And what does that mean is that if I hide now this group, everything will be hidden except for this object, so that we don't get distracted by the rest of the geometry. Okay, so now select this object, and the first thing that we are going to fix here is the axis point. As you can see, the axis point is here and the object is here. So to fix this, we go to the mesh, axis center, and we open this menu. And now if the x, y, and z are at the 0, if I click execute, the axis point will be exactly at the middle of this object, which is pretty cool, but in this case I need my axis to be here. And I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to bring my axis here by increasing the x direction to 100%, because as you can see, the red arrow presents the x direction. So now if I click execute, the axis point will be here. Cool. Now I'm going to minimize that guy, because I'm going to use that also for the rest of the geometry. Okay, so with this object still selected, we're going to hold shift and we're going to click the Bend Deformer. Now the Bend Deformer will bend this guy on the wrong direction, because it has to be bended this way. And now to fix this, I'm going to increase the size of the Bend Deformer in the Z direction, so that I can see where the Bend Deformer is. And then I will take the rotation tool, and as I start to rotate, I'm going to hold shift so that I can rotate this guy 90 degrees. And then I will do the same thing also for the Z direction. I'm going to rotate this guy minus 90 degrees on the Z direction. And then I will select the Bend Deformer and click this button which says fit to parent. And now the Bend Deformer is going to fit on this object. Okay, so now as you can see, the Bend Deformer is trying to bend this guy in the right direction. But the problem is that this object has no segments vertically. So again, to add segments, all we have to do is to select that object, switch to the point mode, we press K for knife, and in this case I'm going to choose plane. And if I hover the mouse, actually we have to change also the plane here from XY to YZ. And now if I hover the mouse here, I'm going to hold shift to freeze this cut, so that I can come here and increase the number of the cuts. So I'm going to increase up to 7. And then I will increase also the spacing to 16. And by tweaking the offset, I'm going to try to bring those cuts exactly at the middle of this object. Okay, so now all I have to do is to select, or to click somewhere in the scene, I should say. Cool. So now this Bend Deformer will bend this guy properly. Okay. Now let's unhide the second object from the right side. And now I'm going to switch to the model mode and to the move tool, so that we can see the axis point of this object. Again, is there. And the reason why we are having all the axis point here is because when this object was as one object, before we split it, the axis point was there. And as we split that guy in many pieces, the axis point will remain in the same position. Okay, so now in this case I need my axis to be here, and as you can see the green arrow presents the y direction and is facing that way, which means that in this case we're gonna bring the y to minus 100%, and now if we click execute, the axis point should be here. And make sure also the x and z to be at the 0. Okay, cool. Now if I apply the bend deformer to this guy, the bend deformer will bend this guy in the right direction, because we need to bend it this way. But the problem is, again, we need some extra segments. So now I'm going to select this object. I'm going to press K for knife, switch to the point mode, and in this case I'm going to change the mode to loop. And as I hover the mouse here, I'm going to check the offset, and if I get closer to the 50, I'm just going to click, because I don't want to spend time pressing shift and coming here and typing 50%, because it's going to be very time consuming. So I'm just going to hover the mouse, and if I get closer to the 50, I will click, because it doesn't have to be exactly at the middle. So one more here, one more here, and this should be the last one. Okay, so now the bend deformer will work properly. Cool. So now this object, the back object should be child of this one. So we drag the first object below the second one. But we have one issue here. As we start now to bend this guy, you can see that now this object is not bending properly. And the reason is, again, we don't have those segments horizontally. And we need them because in this case, this object is being affected by this bend deformer. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So now we're going to select this guy, and we'll switch to the point mode. Again, K for knife. And we are going to try to match the cuts with the segments from the second object. Something like this. And now let's see what we have. So now if I bend this guy, you can see that we're going to have a better bending. Okay, cool. Now we are going to unhide this one. And again, K for knife. In this case, maybe we should switch to the right view. And let's unhide also these objects. So we are unhiding from the back door to that object there. And the reason is because I need to cut them at the same time. So to do that, I'm going to select these 4 objects. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the point mode. Then I'm going to press K for knife. And I'm going to change the mode from loop to line. Also, I'm going to make sure to switch off the visible only. And now I'm going to click here, because I'm going to try to match with the segments from the second object. So I'm going to click here, and as I drag, I'm going to hold shift to make sure that the cut will be straight. So I'm going to do the same thing also. As you can see, I made a mistake here. Sometimes this thing happens, I don't know why. So if that happened to you, undo that step and try to cut properly. As you can see, I have another mistake there. So Control Z to undo. And again, as I drag this line, I'm going to hold shift to make the cut straight. Okay, so now as you can see, we have all the cuts. on these objects, but we need some cuts also vertically for the doors, because as you can see the doors will be bended this way. Okay, cool. So now let's add those cuts. I'm going to select the back door and K for knife again, and I'm going to switch back to the plane, and the plane should be XY in this case. Now I'm going to hold shift to freeze the cut. I'm going to decrease the cuts down to 4. The spacing seems right, and now all I have to do is to click somewhere in the scene. I'm going to select the front door, and I'm going to do the same thing. So shift to freeze the cut, K again to bring back the knife menu. I'm going to increase the cuts to 6, tweak the offset a little bit. Cool. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to the model mode so that I can see the axis, and I'm going to start to fix the axis point for these objects. So let's start with the back door again. As you can see, we need the axis to be here, so the blue arrow presents the Z direction. So again, everything should be 0 and the Z should be 100%. And because we know that that door also has to have the axis here, we are going to select this door so that we can just click execute. Cool. And now we select this object, and for this object we need the axis to be here. So again, minus 100 on the Y direction. Also for this guy, it should be the same thing. Cool, and I'm going to close the axis center. Okay, now let's apply the bend deformers. So we will start with the back door. We will select the door, hold shift, click the bend deformer. And now the bend deformer will bend this guy from the bottom, which is not what we need. So we take the rotation tool again, and as we start to rotate, we hold shift. Okay, now we select this guy and we click fit to parent. We bring the strength back to 0, and we apply the bend deformer to this guy, and in this case the bend deformer should be fine because we need to bend this guy from the bottom. We apply the bend deformer to the front door, and we know that we have to rotate this guy 90 degrees on the Y direction, so that we rotate that guy and we click fit to parent. Cool, and we apply the bend deformer to this guy, and also here it's fine. Okay, cool. So now this door, the back door should be child of this object. So we take the back door and we put below this bend deformer of this object, and also the front door should be child of this one. So we bring also the front door as a child of this one. Cool. And now instead of doing the whole thing all over again for the left part, we are going to add the symmetry to the scene. And the reason why I'm putting the symmetry without using Alt or Shift or anything else is because I need the symmetry to be at the center of this scene. And now I'm going to select all these objects, and I'm going to hit Alt G to make a group. And if I bring this group, if I make as a child of the symmetry, we're going to have exactly the same thing applied on the left side. So now let's bring this guy inside of the paper bus group. Okay, and the reason why I used symmetry is because as you can see, the right and the left animation are coming at the same time, except for this part. So from that point to this point, they're coming at the same time. Cool. But now we need to delete these L objects from the left side. So let's unhide everything, or actually not. Let's hide again everything. And now we are going to unhide this guy. And as you can see, that's the object. So we are going to delete. Also, we are going to delete this one. We are going to delete also the back door, and also this guy here. This is the front door. On the left side, we need to delete that, and also this one, because we already have those objects from the symmetry. And also it's very helpful because now if I animate, for example, one of these objects, we don't have to animate also that one. It's going to be done automatically. Okay, cool. Now let's fold these, and I'm gonna unhide this object, and also I'm gonna unhide the L from 007, and maybe let's bring them together, close together here. Okay, so now we're going to add some segments to these guys. So first I'm gonna start with the right one. I'm gonna switch to the point mode, K for knife, and I'm gonna change the mode to loop. And again, if I see 50, around 50, I'm gonna click. Something like this. Maybe I should add some more here. Okay, and one more here. Cool. So now I'm gonna do the same thing with this guy. So I'm gonna try to match with a right object. And again, K to bring back the knife menu. Okay. Okay, very cool. Now we switch to the model mode so that we see the axis. And now we will fix the axis for the right object. So we will open the axis center menu. And now as you can see, everything is set up. The Y is -100 because we need the axis to be here. So all we have to do is to press execute. That's cool. And now we select this guy. Again, by holding shift, we apply the Bend Deformer. Again, the Bend Deformer is bending in the wrong direction. So we take the rotation tool, and as we rotate, we hold shift. So we rotate this guy 90 degrees. Hit the parent, we bring the strength down to 0. We do the same thing with this guy. Okay, fit the parent, bring the strength down to 0. And now we are going to unhide this object, also these objects. Okay. And now we will select the R8, also the L8, so that we switch to the right view. And we switch to the point mode. Then we press K for knife. We choose line. And now we start to add the cuts in the both objects. I don't know why this thing is happening. Maybe it's just because I'm using Wacompan. I'm not sure, but if that happened, like if you miss the cut, undo the step and do all over again. I'm not really sure why that thing is happening. Okay, cool. Or maybe let's set some more. So maybe one more here. Let's try to make it exactly, not exactly, but around the middle. Okay, let's go to this side now. 50%. Cool. Okay, again we switch back to the model mode. And now we select this object first. We take the move tool so that we see where the axis is. And we need the axis to be here on the bottom. So everything is ready. We have only to click execute. We do the same thing with a L008. Okay, and now we apply the Bend Deformer to this guy. And now, as we start to tweak the Bend Deformer, you can see that this object is getting this kind of weird shape, like a cone. And the reason is because if you see this object, it has this kind of angle. So to fix this, all we have to do is to take again the rotation tool, and we're going to rotate this, in this case, around 20, I guess. So let's just type here -20, and let's see what we have. Yeah, I think -20 on this case is working just fine. So now we're gonna do the same thing, and make sure not to click fit the parent, because then you're gonna lose this kind of rotation here. Okay, so now we select this guy, and again shift Bend Deformer, and in this case we need to go +20 on the X. And now if we rotate this, if we tweak the strength, we're gonna have this kind of cool bending. Okay, now we are going to work with this one. So first let's fix the axis point. So the Y should be 0 and the Z should be -100 in this case. Let's do the same thing with L09, and let's press K for knife, switch to the point mode, and we're gonna add some extra cuts. Here, and one more here. And for the right object, we are going just to match with the left one, like so. Cool. And now again we press Shift to apply the Bend Deformer. Oops, sorry for that. And the Bend Deformer is bending in the wrong direction. So now we take the rotation tool, we rotate this guy 90 degrees this way. Also, we rotate 90 degrees this way. Fit to parent. Everything seems fine. Bring the strength down to 0. And we're gonna apply the Bend Deformer also on the L09. Again, is doing the bending on the wrong direction. So we rotate also this one. It seems pretty cool. 0. And now we're gonna select this one. Also the I start to get lost in my own scene. So now we're gonna select the R10 and the L10, and in this case I'm gonna switch to the front view, and I'm gonna change the display to grow shading with lines. And also it seems that we have to go to the back side. So now we switch to the point mode, and then we press K, and we change the mode to line again. And now we click, and as we drag, we hold the shift so that we have straight lines. So we're gonna do those cuts. As you can see, I missed that one, so Control Z to undo. I think I'm gonna add another one here, and one more here. So let's see what we have. I think it's looking pretty cool. So now we select this one and we switch to the again to the model mode so that we can see our axis. And in this case, we need to bring the Y to -100 and the X and Z to 0. Execute. Do the same thing with the left one. And now we are going to apply the Bend Deformer, and the Bend Deformer will bend in the wrong direction again. So we're gonna rotate this guy 90 degrees, fit the parent, bring the string down to 0, and we're gonna select the R010, sorry, and shift Bend Deformer. Again, we are going to rotate this guy 90 degrees, fit the parent, bring the string down to 0. Okay, so now what else? Now we are going to work with the top part. So again, we are going to bring the axis here now. So the Y should be 0 and the Z should be -100. Execute. And now instead of using knife, I'm gonna switch to the polygon mode, and I'm gonna select all the polygons, and then I'm gonna right click and choose subdivide so that we double the geometry. Okay, and the reason why I chose it this way was that the space between those polygons was almost the same. So subdivide, and now we can apply the Bend Deformer. Again, the Bend Deformer will bend this in the wrong direction. So we take the rotation tool, we will rotate this way, and then we will rotate also this way. X and Z, -90. And now fit to parent. And in this case, I'm gonna switch on the keep the Y axis length, because otherwise it's going to be very high there. So if we switch this on, you can see that it shrank a little bit, that geometry. Okay, cool. And now we are going to unhide the bottom, but as you can see, now it's looking very mess. So let's unhide now the rest of the object. So to do that, we are going to click and hold this first dot there, and we drag the cursor down like so, so that everything will turn red. And we're going to do it again, the same thing, until we turn them to gray. But as you can see also, we have to do the same thing with this null object. So we unfold that null, and we hide these guys too. Okay, so now we are going to turn this dot to green on the bottom object. And in this object, I'm going to apply two Bend Deformers. And I'll show you why in a minute. But first, let's fix the axis point. So again, it should be -Z, should be here. But in this case, as you can see, the axis is here and it should be here. The problem is that it's trying to find the center between this edge to that edge. So to fix this, we will switch to axis modification tool, and then we'll bring this axis down like so. And now make sure to switch off the axis modification, because otherwise it may cause some issue. Okay, cool. And now I'm gonna minimize that, and I'm gonna switch to the point mode again so that I can add some cuts. So I'm just trying to add some extra cuts so that we have some more segments. Maybe one more here. Okay, cool. So now we are going to apply the Bend Deformer by holding Shift again. And now again we need to rotate this minus 90 on X and minus 90 on Z, because that's what we had with the object on the top. So fit to parent. Cool. And I don't know if you can see here, but in this animation I had this Bend Deformer so that it will bend here and then it will do another bend there. So actually it should start from here and then we see that one. Maybe you can see this line here. So that came because I was using like two objects that time, I guess. But this time we will use the same object with the two Bend Deformer. So let's switch to the top view. And we are going to scale this Bend Deformer in the y direction. And then we will bring it here. Okay. And now by holding Control, we're gonna drag this Bend Deformer on top, because the second one should be on top of the first one. Make sure to bring that Bend Deformer here, because otherwise it may cause some issue. And now we will bring this Bend Deformer here, and we are going to scale this a little bit down. Okay, so let's see what we have now. So as you can see now, I can bend this guy, and I'm going to switch also the keep y-axis length. So as you can see, I can bend now this one, and then I can bend this one, which it gives more dimension, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's just me trying to make my life more complicated. Okay, so I think we are done with the Bend Deformers, and now we are going to work with the wheels. And for the wheels, we are going to use the Meld Deformer, also the displacer. So again, let's hide everything. Also this one, and I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna choose where is that? Okay, fold all. Okay, cool. So now I'm gonna unfold this group, and then I'm gonna unfold also the wheels, and I'm gonna turn this dot to green so that we see only the wheels. Okay, so now we select this first wheel or the back wheel, and if we hold Shift and if we apply the Meld Deformer, you can see that it's going to change the position of that object, which is not very cool. And to fix this, all we have to do is to go to the characters and commands, and we will click this Reset BSR, like so. So now as you can see, the meld is here, but also is deforming this guy too much. So now we will decrease the strength down to 0 so that we get only this kind of deformation. but also it's deforming on the wrong way, because you can see the wheels are coming from the bottom to the top. So now all we have to do is to rotate this guy 180 degree. So now we have this. Cool. So instead of doing everything all over again, we are going to hold Control and copy the same melt in those three wheels. And now we are going to click the melt. And now if we come to the character command, reset PSR, so the melt will copy actually the coordination from the object, which is his parent. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Cool. And now as you can see, because we are using reset PSR, also we are resetting the rotation. So now we have to rotate these guys 180 degree. Also this one. And now if we select all of them, we're gonna have something like this. Okay, very cool. But I don't know if you can see here. Yeah, you can see that. Like, this effect is looking like a paper crush. And to do that, we are going to use the displacement. So we select this object here, and by holding Shift again, we are going to apply the displacer. And again, the displacer is coming here. So again, we are going to bring the reset PSR. So as you can see now, we have the displacer here. And now to get that kind of effect, like crushing paper, we're gonna go to the shading, and we will apply under the shader the noise. And then we will go to the object, and we are going to increase the strength up to 200. So as you can see, we are getting that kind of crushy paper effect. Okay, so also what I did on this scene is that I had add some extra cuts so that we get this kind of randomness there, and not like uniform like we have it here. So to do that, I'm going to select this object, I'm going to switch to the point mode, and I'm going to press K for knife again. I'm going to switch to the line, and I'm just going to add some extra cuts, something like this. So now, as you can see, the displacer is deforming better this object. Also, I can see that we forgot to turn off the font tag. So select all these font tags from the wheels and decrease the font angle down to 0. Okay, cool. So now we are going to copy the displacer to the rest of the wheels. And in this case, we don't have to reposition them, but just to be more accurate, I'm going to do that too. So reset PSR, and reset PSR. Okay, very cool. Now all we have to do is to select these wheels, press K for knife, and add some extra cuts. And I'm going to do also with this guy. And I'm going to do the same thing with the last one. Okay. So now we have something like this. And actually, let's select all the displacer, go to the follow, and drag this weight down. Because we're gonna keyframe this. It's going to start like this, and then it will end like this. But for now, let's keep it to the 0. Okay, cool. So now we are done also with the wheels. And now we will work with the passenger seats. So for the passenger seats, all we have to do is to fix the axis point. As you can see, they're scaling from the bottom. Okay. So now we're gonna turn these dots to green. And now we select the left seat. We bring the axis point, axis center menu. We make the Z 0, the X should be 0, the Y should be minus 100. Cool. So now we just click these seats and we press execute. Like so. So now if we scale the seats, we are going to scale from the bottom to the top. And I can see that I did a small mistake here, but actually it doesn't matter. As you can see, those geometries are outside and they should be inside these objects, but it doesn't matter really, because we are going to see them like for actually we will not see those at all, I guess. So I think we're fine. Okay, now we are going to work with the lamps. And now as you can see, the animation, I don't know if you can see that, but this cylinder will scale from the bottom to the top, and then the lamp will come from this point, will be scaled from this point. So let's select first the cylinder, and we will bring the axis here. We're gonna select that cylinder, do the same thing, and then for the lamp we will choose minus X, and the rest should be 0. Also for this one we should do the same thing. And I think the steering wheel and the number plates are good to go. So let's see the steering wheel. Yeah, I think they are good. So now I'm gonna hide it. I'm gonna turn them to gray, and I'm gonna unhide this this model. And now this model is ready to be animated, and I think we are done with this lesson. So I see you in the next one, and from the next one the fun part will start, because up to this point it was kind of boring, but this process is kind of boring itself. You cannot do nothing. So I see you in the next one. Take care.